Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's show. This week I'm just going to talk about one particular thing, and it's called channeling. Since I started this video blog, I've gotten lots of emails on the subject, so not to think that I've been ignoring you, because I haven't. The questions are very far-reaching. They come from one end and completely the other, of how evil it can be and how fabulous it can be, and everywhere in the middle. And for those of you who don't know what channeling is, because some people think it's possession, and it's not. It is a person who lets a being on the other side that watches over them, that they've worked with, that is a spirit guide or an angelic being, use their voice and the physical part of their mind to relay messages to people here on earth. But first you have to understand the body. Your soul comes with its own mind, with its own, we have emotions in our spiritual self, but then we have our physical body, and it has its emotional self, its emotional being. So that's the piece of you that the other side is using in order to take over your speech. Now there are channelers who let, the being take over their entire self. Ramtha comes to mind. I hope I said that right. I do not do that. A lot of the questions were, do I channel? And I have in the past. Of course, the only person I've ever channeled was my grandmother. And for me, I just kind of went away. I don't remember. Now there are people who channel who do this kind of split screen thing, where their spiritual and emotional self stay and kind of watch what's going on and remember. But to me, either they're doing that because they need to learn from it, or they're doing that because they still don't accept the being that they've allowed to come and help the world. Because that's really what channeling is about. It's some soul on the other side who is much higher dimensionally than we could ever imagine, that comes through with information to help us live a better life, to help us make better changes in our world. And some of the questions were, I don't understand this person, but I understand this other person. And that's because the messages that come through from the different, quote, masters on the other side are coming for a select group of people. Someone like me is going to understand one thing, where someone else who knows nothing about spirituality, who knows nothing about, if they just live in their very little corner of the world and they don't explore, they need to be spoken to differently in order for them to move forward. And that's why there's so many different channeled messages. They don't necessarily contradict themselves. They complement each other with the same type of message. And yes, there's always one out there that comes along and it's like, what? Where did you come from? What the heck are you talking about? Just like anything, you have to take what you need and leave the rest behind. You take what's good for you. I listen to a couple of different people who channel messages. If anyone wants to look into, what this is, if you've never heard of it before, Seth is, he was from the 60s, I believe. Ramtha. And, Gabrielle. There are people who claim to channel the messages of Jesus. Just Google it. Google channeled messages and see what comes up. And, listen to a few of them. There's several sites out there that record or write out all the messages. And just as in speaking, the being on the other side can take over your writing. It's called automatic writing. And, I think we can learn a lot from channel messages. Do I think, someone wrote in and says, do you think these channel messages are coming from aliens? No, I do not. in our concept of what an alien is. Not necessarily. I really see that as those on the other side watching over us going, hey, maybe if I come through, and keep giving these messages, to a larger crowd than just one person, watching over one person, maybe I can make a difference. Our life does not stop once we leave here, and I think that's a horrible misconception that a lot of people have. They think once we die, we're in heaven. That's it. We're safe. I'm sorry. That's just hysterical. Because you're not. Because you let go of your physical body, you turn around and you look back and you see what you didn't do. You see what you did do that you shouldn't have done. And not that God judges you, but you judge yourself horribly. Horribly. More than anyone could ever judge you. And so, when we get on the other side, we want to we want to live. We want to make a difference. Because we know what it's like to be here. We know how hard it is. We don't know it while we're here. And that's something people, I have to laugh when people say this. They go, oh, I hope this is my last lifetime. And I'm thinking in the back of my head, this is your first. Because you don't get it. And you're going to have to go through a lot more to get it. And truly, it's usually those people who say that. Like, I don't want to do this again. That this is, they're newbies. They're very new at all living in this dimension. And, because they succumb to everything in it. But back to channeling. I think it's helpful. I think the messages are inspirational, just like having an author write a book and being inspirational. And you can learn from it. Do I think you're possessed? No. Because the person who who is being channeled works with this person on the other side. I mean, it's not that they just sat down and bam, somebody just came through them. They opened themselves up to it. They allowed it. They started it somehow. And you build a relationship with that spirit. When I used to channel my grandmother, I've never met her, obviously, but knowing her through the other side, I trusted her. I knew she wouldn't hurt me. I knew she wouldn't do anything to affect my body because she's the one guiding me to have the best life possible. So, you want to find out who they're channeling and how long they've been channeling this person, and how long they were working with this entity before they started channeling. That's important. But really kind of take the focus off of their job. The job of the channeler is to work with that person on the other side and help those messages come through. How they come through is kind of irrelevant, because when people write books, where do you think the information is coming from? Everybody thinks it's coming from their head, and it's not. It's coming from their heart. It's a book that was already written on the other side before they were born, that they knew they were going to write in this lifetime, and they're remembering it. I'm always amazed when authors just pat themselves on the back for all the work that they've done. And it's like, excuse me, what? What work did you do? You just remembered what you were supposed to remember. And, yeah, your book's great, but stop patting yourself on the back and look at the bigger picture. But, if you can't get your grasp around reading channel messages and allowing that to come, then read some books. Maybe you need that barrier between you and that channeling device to help get the message across for you. So I hope that helped answer your questions, and I hope you all have a fabulous weekend. Ciao.